Welcome in to a whole new ball game. I'm Alex Fuse alongside my co-host Vinny Pasquantino. Vinny, my first question for you. We are recording this intro Sunday morning before any football games are played today. And I get it, it's a baseball podcast, but we can always bring in the football talk whenever we want. But you're sporting a Jets hoodie.
I am.
And
Yep.
and
It's
I
game
just feel
day,
so
baby.
bad for you.
It's
I feel
game day.
bad.
We've got the Hawks on tap today, and I'm pumped. It's a big game, 1:00. I think no, it's actually at 4:00. The game's at 4:00 today, so even better. Everybody can get through the 1:00 games. Sit on their couch, relax, take a little nap. 4:05 hits. New York Jets, Seattle Seahawks, baby. Let's go. Come on, get fired up.
Now, it doesn't matter what time the game is at, whether it's 1, whether it's 4. I'm saying the Jets stay defeated.
Well, what's funny is I'm not used to them playing at any other time than 1. They get one Monday night game every year against the Patriots, and then they get a Thursday night game against some random team, either the Browns. They were the first team to ever lose to the Browns a few years ago. After the Browns went like 0-16, then 1-15, the Jets were the first team to lose to them with Baker Mayfield at the helm. So that was awesome. I remember exactly where I was when that happened. But yeah, 4:05 today. It's really exciting. I'm going to make some buffalo chicken dip for the family. I actually am going to work today at 10 o'clock. I'm going to flip some patties at Burgereem. So I'm going back to work there for a little bit. I'm going to go help out there, make people's day with the burgers that I make. So I'm really pumped for that. I got to head over there in about an hour. So just a big, big day. There were some good fights on last night. The UFC put on a great event, 256. My boy Kevin Holland, the man, he won. He's won 5 fights this year. Very exciting. He's my favorite fighter in the UFC right now, and he's proven everybody wrong. So that was awesome to see him. He knocked a guy out from his back. He was on his back, right hook to the jaw, done. Amazing knockout. It was incredible. Good night of fights. I'm excited to be here on this Sunday morning. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm doing great. Finally back home. Now, not right now I'm at home. Right now I'm at Siena College in the radio station recording this intro with you. So first night back at home and over a week and a half.
Yep. Everybody, let's congratulate Alex on getting out of quarantine. He made it. He got through quarantine, and now he's back in the studio, and we're fired up to have him having better Wi-Fi.
Yes, having better Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is my biggest fear. My biggest fear is it to say, like, you have unstable internet connection when you're interviewing, some of the best people out there in the baseball world. But
we try to provide a great experience for our guests.
Exactly.
And if our Wi-Fi is not working, we can't do that.
Right.
And we can't do our jobs if our Wi-Fi isn't doing its job. Mm-hmm. So Wi-Fi is super important. So shout out to all the good Wi-Fi out there. We really appreciate you and all you do for us.
But to get into, we got a big show today. Bryce Windham joining as my phone is.
Which phone is that? If anybody doesn't know, Alex has 2 phones. Was that your personal or your business phone, Alex?
That was my business phone.
Business call early on Sunday morning. That's a big phone call.
I know. I guess I should turn off because what I'm starting to do is I'm missing notifications. Like I don't have like the vibrate on my phone. I don't do that. So like if I don't have my noise, like my sound on my phone, and I don't look at my phone, like I don't know if you text me or not.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
First
Alex is too big time. Alex is too big time to answer really anybody's text. So that's
not
what you
true.
need to know about him.
It's just not true.
Yeah. So I'd like to make my football picks for the week. For every single game that's happening, who I think is going to win each game. I'm very excited about it. Alex is going to make us a nice little Word document after this. He's going to label my picks, and we're going to put them out there to see how good I am at picking football games. Just the winners, just for fun. Giants, Cardinals. I've got the New York Giants taking down the Arizona Cardinals. Bengals versus the Cowboys. I'll take the Cowboys. You give me the Cowboys today. Buccaneers, Vikings. I'm going to take the Buccaneers. Titans, Jaguars. Big divisional game. Jaguars could really help the Jets out with a win here. If the Jaguars win, it helps the Jets get one step closer to the number 1 pick. But I'm going to take the Titans. Derrick Henry is too much for the Jaguars, I fully believe. Panthers, Broncos, Panthers. Panthers, baby. What a well-coached team. That's what everybody says about the Panthers. What a well-coached team. I'll take the Panthers. Well-coached. Colts, Raiders. Give me the Raiders. Psych. Give me the Colts. Give me the Colts. We don't trust the Raiders after barely beating the Jets last week. We just can't trust those guys. Chargers, Falcons. You can give me the Chargers. L.A. Justin Herbert throws the ball deep. And we like throwing the ball deep. Saints, Eagles. Jalen Hurts makes his debut today for the Eagles. But the Saints are really good at football. That is a good football team, and I'm going to take the Saints. Now, speaking of a football team, we've got the Washington football team versus the versus the Arizona 49ers. And I'm going to go with the football team. Steelers, Bills. I'm taking the Steelers. And that might be an unpopular pick. It might be a popular pick. I don't know. They just lost last week. But I think they're just going to get back into it. It's prime time. I think the Steelers win this game. And the Browns-Ravens on Monday night. Give me the Browns, I think. I'm not confident with this at all. If I had to pick a tie this week, it would be this game. 16-16 tie. And then for the pick you've all been waiting for, Seahawks, Jets. Give me the Jets, baby. Come on. Give me the Jets. Let's go. Come on. So let's do it. Why not us? We'll go up into Seattle. We'll do what the Giants did last week. 2 New York teams, really New Jersey teams, going up to Seattle, beating the Seahawks. Give me the Jets. Let's ride. Those are my football picks of the week.
You had me up until the end, Vinny. You had me up until the end.
I'm fired up. It is a big day today in the Pasquantino household, even though my dad's a Dolphins fan, my mom's a Giants fan, my brother's a Falcons fan. So it's pretty much a house divided. But we're all really excited for today.
It's a big day for the Pasquantino household, but we'll see if you are right or not. We'll discuss at the end of the episode. So stay tuned. Again, we're recording this pre any football games begin.
I'm still drinking my coffee, folks. It's still a coffee time of the day for me. My alarm's going off to make sure that I wake up this morning.
Now, which phone is that?
This is just the only phone that I have. Alex, I am currently not big time enough to have 2 phones. But yeah, we've got a big interview today. It's Bryce Windham. I hope everybody's fired up about it. Alex, it's just good to see you. You know, it's good to see you back in the studio where you're not cutting out all the time. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, get ready. Bryce Windham. Welcome into our newest interview. We've got Bryce Windham on tap today. I'm here with Alex Fuse, my co-host of A Whole New Ball Game, and our guest today, a special one. We've got Bryce Windham, minor league prospect for the Chicago Cubs. Welcome, Bryce.
Hey, man, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know what? You're welcome. You're welcome for having you on. This is your second time on. I hope
it is.
I hope you enjoy your second time on the show. I'm probably going to ask you similar questions that you were asked last time because I wasn't here last time you were on the show. And that's just my civic duty, is to provide the basic generic questions that you've probably been asked before. And that's what I'm going to do again here today.
And so I have a question for you to kick this off. You guys have interviewed a lot of pretty cool people. There's been a lot of cool people on this show.
No one's cooler than our guest of honor today than you.
But how many of them have been on twice?
Well, at least one. That was Jackson Ryan, our first new episode with Alex and I hosting. I listened to it. Yeah.
You're the second one around, and as of right now, there's no one else on schedule to be back on. So
that's good company. Nolan Ryan's grandson. I like that.
No, that's Jackson. You refer to him as Jackson Ryan. We don't worry about who his grandfather is. We're worried about Jackson Ryan. That's what we're worried about here on A Whole New Ball Game. We like to focus on the people. And that Jackson Ryan is a person that we really enjoyed talking to, so we're going to focus.
Sorry, Jackson, if you listen to this, I apologize.
Well, Alex, why don't you start us off? Why don't you start us off with a question for everybody to listen to? So, Alex, go ahead and ask the first question today.
All right. So, first question for you, Bryce. You came on before you even went to Instructs. I think you came on just a few weeks before you headed out to Instructs. So what was Instructs like? This is your first Instructs since being with the Cubs, right? So what was?
No, it's my second.
Second. So how was this different than the first for you?
Well, this one we actually played games, and the first Instructs, I think it was more so new guys just trying to get in work, whereas this one was like we had a lot of the top 25 like Cubs prospects there. Like all the pitchers on the top 25 list were there. Majority position players were there, and a lot of the good AAA, AA guys were there. And we actually played games. And so the competition was super good. So that was fun. But we also got our work in, practice every day. But, I mean, it was more so the same as far as what we did on a daily basis.
Well, so take us through your Instructs then. You said you played some games. How did you do? How do you feel like you compared to, what you're talking about, some of the top tier prospects in the Cubs organization?
Well, personally, I played I think as a team we played 20. And I think I caught about 8 of those. And so what we did as a catching core was you'd catch 5 and then another guy would catch the last 4, which as a catcher, you don't want to be the guy that catches the second half and you're sitting all there all day and then you go in the game and catch.
Second half warrior, maybe. Gotta love
it. You bring a different vibe in, that's for sure, because, I mean, you have to get yourself ready to go out there.
Yeah, I can speak on that as an infielder. The field's harder. Hasn't been snagged in a while.
It's chopped.
It's hotter. Seems to be hotter towards the second half of the game when you go in there and haven't played in a while,
And I'm sure you were comfortable sitting wherever you were sitting.
Very comfortable wherever you were sitting. You're paying attention to the game. You're getting in the
You're enjoying it. Yeah.
Enjoying the game. And then all of a sudden that 5th inning hits or that 6th inning hits and it just hits a little bit differently.
Yeah. So, okay. So you know what I'm talking about then. Hitting wise, I had no extra base hits, which is very typical for me. I had all singles. I hit like threes, like low 3 something, but all singles.
Yeah, and I'm sure. Well, that surprises me about the low 3s. I'm surprised it wasn't like 39 for 40 with 39 singles.
39. No, nothing like that. I mean, I got when I played, it was either 2 at bats or 3 at bats, so it wasn't that many. But I mean, it was fun. I mean, you got to see all the new draft guys come in. Ed Howard, guy's a stud. So it was cool.
Well, I think too, it's important to play with guys that are older, that have been to AA, been to AAA, so then you kind of feel like you belong a little bit because before you meet those guys and play with them, you don't really know anything. You're still a new guy, but then once you kind of incorporate yourself with the older guys, it feels a little bit more comfortable to be on the field with them.
For sure. I think my situation is different than yours because, I mean, like my AAA, AA guys are like Jared and Connor.
That's true.
Who JY was there. And so, like, when I'm with the AAA guys hitting, JY is always there. So it always feels –
For all the listeners, Bryce.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
You got to let people know JY is Jared Young.
Jared Young.
Connor is Connor Myers, both Old Dominion University alums, which Bryce and I are. The Cubs are essentially the Old Dominion baseball varsity
pipeline.
Team.
Yeah, basically.
They have, 6 players now with the Cubs organization that went to Old Dominion.
Like that, yeah.
So it's
so like those old guys being Jared Young. Yeah, if you jumped out there with us, you'd feel comfortable having a familiar face like I did. So it's pretty nice.
So are you a catcher now, full time?
Yeah,
like that's
full-time.
What you are.
I'm trying to mix in other things, but they just want me to catch.
Right, gotcha.
I mean, I truly feel after 2 years of working nothing but catching that I'm up there with the rest of the catchers in the minor leagues as within our system, I should say.
Yeah. How much more confident do you feel now? Because I know catching is a newer position to you in terms of your baseball career ever since you started playing. So do you feel like heading into hopefully the 2021 season is a regular minor league season, as regular as possible? do you feel a lot more confident going into next season now?
Oh, I definitely do. I mean, I did not feel confident going into instructs as from a defensive standpoint, just because, I mean, it didn't really do much as far as, there was no guys to catch bullpens, and I really didn't get as much catching work in as I did hitting work. And so I was a little nervous kind of going in, but I found that whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So I just need to let all the anxiety go and the pressure go and just go out and play and have fun like I have for my whole life. Even if it's not really a new position anymore because it's been 2 years, but it's like it's all the same game from little league to big leagues. You score runs, you got to throw strikes, you got to field the ball, you got to play catch. So I think that's what I just have to get back to, is realizing that.
So for you, and you probably touched on it in the last time you were on the show, but I mean, your story is just nuts. And I don't want this to sound like I'm getting on you, but when you showed up at school, you didn't really see the field at all. And I think you would admit you probably weren't ready to see the field. And then you flip it 3 years later and you're the best player in the conference, and it's really not even close. So what were those 4 years like at school that really turned you, from a guy who didn't see the field at all to a guy who was hitting leadoff and no one would ever think about taking you out of the lineup?
Well, first off, thank you for that compliment. Second, my freshman year, seeing the guys from Old Dominion who come in, then get cut, and come in, then get cut, like I was no different than those guys. I mean, I was surprised that I was still there. I think I was still there because I really listened and did everything that was asked of me, and I didn't complain. I think that's really the only reason I was kept around, never got in trouble. But yeah, I was awful freshman year. And I think what changed me from a mindset was I just wanted to belong. I wanted to prove that I belonged here. I was nowhere near ready to play physically. I mean, I was 165 pounds, 6'1", and super skinny. So that summer I really wanted to get better. And so being on a team where I'm one of 4 Division I guys and everyone else is, NAIA Division III kind of guys, I had to be a leader and step up. And so that sophomore year jump, I came back, and I think that was my biggest jump from year to year, was that year. And so I was able to play center field a little bit. And then junior year wasn't a great year as a team-wise. I had a decent year, but, I mean, without having a successful team, no one's really going to look at you because, your best players help your team win. Mm-hmm. And so if your team's not winning, then what are you doing to help your team win? And senior year, I only focused on having fun and remembering the moments with all my friends, like you, Corey Alexander, Kyle Battle, Matt Birch, new guy who just came in. I just wanted to remember all the games, all the travels, all the moments. And so I think that took all the pressure off of me baseball wise, and then I could just play.
Mm-hmm. So like everybody wants people to think that they belong and that they're not overmatched or whatever, but it starts with, in your own heart, in your own head, knowing that you belong. Like, when did that switch flip for you? And you said, you know what, like, I do belong at this level. I can be a game changer here. Now I can almost start thinking about that next level of I can potentially make it to pro ball. Like, what point did you say to yourself,
well, I can say,
or to phrase it differently, like thinking you could be that difference maker? Not necessarily when you got to that point, but when in your head did you say, I can be this?
I think once coaches started having confidence in me, mm-hmm. like once I started having a little bit of success, it was when I started playing outfield. Mm-hmm. I started having a little bit of success, making some good plays. And then from there, I think I took off mentally to where I can do things to help this team, whether it's making diving catches in the gap or, getting 50 walks in the season. I can do something that'll help this team. And it's funny because me and my dad got an argument about the draft before senior year season started. And he was like, yeah, like you have a good year, like you could get drafted. And I was like, I'm not getting drafted. Like, I'm not as good as Vinny. I'm not as good as Kyle Battle, and Vinny Pasquantino. I was like, I'm not as good as those guys. I'm not getting drafted. And then he just got really upset with me and like forced myself to think that I could. And so I think from there, but I have printing t-shirts as a fallback, which I enjoy.
Sorry, everybody. My power went out at my apartment, and that knocks the Wi-Fi out, so my Zoom call got big time disconnected.
That's all right, man. No worries. We waited for you.
So I don't know where we were. I was asking you about working for your dad, so I guess we'll just go back there. I mean, yeah, talk to us about Randy and how great he is.
What a great guy. I mean, if there's one person that could just challenge you mentally for 9 hours a day, it's that guy. Like, I'm back there playing cornhole, and when I'm shooting, he's just staring at me, dancing, anything he could do just to get in my head.
And he does it. He's the best at it. So we want to give a quick shout out to Randy Windham. He's Bryce's father, but he's the man. So Alex, continue with.
He is the man.
I think one of the biggest things that, getting back on what you were saying earlier, about just not feeling like you had the mindset that you needed to until you realize that you do have potential to get drafted, to play professional baseball, what you're doing now with the Cubs. When did you realize the importance of having a positive mindset or an optimistic mindset in baseball?
Well, I think you learn that like back in high school with the whole failure part of the game, because I mean, the competition jump, I didn't really play travel ball. So like middle school baseball to high school baseball is a big jump. I'm sure guys who play travel ball, travel ball is way better than high school ball. But you learn that you'll go 0 for 3 one game and then 4 for 4 the next game. And then it's like all you have to do is get a hit 3 times out of 10. It's the times when, you haven't had a hit in your last 15 at-bats is when it gets tough. And then you just got to dig deep. And I mean, for some guys, it's good to change stuff. But like for me, like, don't change. Just keep, as long as you're making good contact, taking good swings. If you're just not getting hits, then you're just not getting hits. Vinny knows that better than anybody as far as
not getting hits. Yeah.
This poor guy had to have had 2 of the worst starts to a season while hitting the ball over 100 miles an hour consistently in the history of baseball. This poor, he wasn't getting any hits. Everyone was making diving catches. I mean, I don't even think you struck out. Everything was.
I try not to think about slumps. I try to remember the good moments.
I remember it because I felt very bad for you.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
Because I only felt bad for you because I knew that you were by far the best hitter on that baseball team. I should say the best hitter I've played with personally. I'm not trying to boost your ego.
I mean, this is just another one. I mean, if you just want to keep saying nice things about me, you can keep them coming. That seems to be a trend of this podcast for some reason. I guess it's because I'm bringing on my friends and people I'm close with. You just keep it coming, just keep telling everybody how great I am. I'm sure they're going to eventually just turn it off because they're like, here we go again. We're just.
Well, I do have to credit some of my success to you because it's kind of like when Kobe copied all of Michael Jordan's moves.
Just unbelievable.
I would just watch you hit and then
try to move on to my next question, which would be, you don't strike out at all. And when I say that, you could say that about different guys, but I specifically remember being in the dugout and you got the 2 strikes. Nobody cared when you got the 2 strikes. And one time you struck out on like a curveball in the dirt and everybody just kind of looked at each other like, well, we don't have a chance if he's striking out. So how did you develop that? I mean, I don't know how few times. I know it was like you were leading the nation, or you were tops in the nation in strikeout percentage and amount of strikeouts and everything. How did you get to that point where you were, one, confident hitting with 2 strikes, and 2, you just knew that nobody was going to – I mean, your discipline is next to none. So how did you get there?
Well, it starts with hitting the ball in the opposite field. So, like, that's all I do. So, like, so I'm late all the time, hitting the ball that way. So I can see the ball longer. You know, guys who hit the ball out front and, you know, hit bombs, like, those guys don't – like, the time to swing is much shorter than mine. As far as I let the ball travel, you know, slap it over third. And mindset, it all started, of course, with my father. When I'd get the 2 strikes, strike out, and he would say, you know, like, that guy is trying to take food off of your plate. And, like, are you just going to let him take food off your plate? And so then I think that switched for me. And every time I got to 2 strikes, I thought of that. I'm like, I'm not going to let you take food off of my plate, and I'm going to win. And, I mean, the approach with 2 strikes it's very simple as far as, you know, I sit fastball. I try to foul every pitch off. And I sit fastball in specifically because that's the hardest pitch for me to hit. You know, because it gets on you the quickest. It's easy to hit the away fastball. So inside fastball, any fastball, I just try to foul it off. Breaking balls, I mean, you can see them if you're on the fastball, foul it off, no stride. And then eventually, I know as a catcher, if a guy's fouling pitches off, I'm going to get very annoyed and probably just throw a fastball down the middle to get this at-bat over with. And then as a hitter, you're like, thank you, because that's a base hit.
Mm-hmm. You are a catcher. So for anybody who doesn't know, Bryce came in as an infielder, then moved to the outfield, then played the infield again. Then, you know, he was moving all around, utility guy. And then at least the first moment I remember you catching was freshman year when we had a cornhole day on an off day as a team bonding thing. And we all started taking infield. I was taking ground balls at shortstop.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you were behind the plate doing pop times, and everybody just kind of stopped what they were doing and was just like, wait, this is really good. And you've always been an athlete. Like, you were committed to play Division I basketball. You were the prototypical high school star quarterback who was the best player on every team that he played on. And, you know, you're a good looking guy. I mean, Hallmark movies were made based off of you. I mean, you're the model for Hallmark movies. So, like, catching, you started catching your senior year, basically. Like, how did that become, you know, you turn from a guy who doesn't have a position, not in a bad way, just you're going to be in the lineup, but you don't have a specific position, to now, like, you're locking down behind the plate at the professional level, something you didn't even do full time really ever. So how did you learn how to do it, and how are you successful at it?
I think the best way to put it is I don't have any bad habits, because I can't. I mean, the only learning of catching that I've done is at a high level. And so I have had no time to form bad habits. And that was only for a year. So the Cubs really got to mold me however they wanted to. And so I can be their prototypical catcher.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what helped. And I think it's your fault that I got into catching, because Chris Finwood, our head coach at Old Dominion, I think asked Vinny if I could catch. And then I think you said, I'm sure he can. And so he asked me.
Yep.
Is that how that went?
That's the only reason you're catching, is because I said, yeah, I'm sure he could do it. That's
correct.
That's the reason. Yep.
That was the first step for sure.
And so Vinny's the reason why he got drafted.
Yes. And Vinny's I'm the reason Vinny knows that he got drafted, because I called him and told him.
That of all the fallacies that have been told on this podcast, that is a truth. So that actually is.
I did not know that it was Bryce.
You didn't.
That is
so
true.
I
knew the story. I knew the story.
I was very irritated that Vinny did not go in the first 2 days. I was more mad than Vinny. And so I'm like, okay, he has to go within the first 5 minutes of day 3. So I'm sitting there watching it, and I promise as soon as I saw Vinny's name pop up on that screen, I called him. I was like, "Congratulations, man." He was like, "For what?" I was like, "What? You just got drafted." He goes, "By who?" He was getting McDonald's, and I was like, "Bro, the Royals just drafted you."
I need to clarify. I was in the McDonald's drive-through line.
Drive-through.
I was getting McDonald's food for myself. It was for my father.
It was for your father. I remember.
For my father. But yes, it's true. Bryce broke the news to me about getting drafted. So that was a real big bonding moment for us.
It was. We're bonded forever now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, because, Vinny was the first professional baseball player I interviewed as the Burlington Royals broadcaster. So Vinny was the first player I interviewed for an article. I think Vinny didn't say, I don't think he's ever said your name.
Well, I'm sure because, I'm sure right after that moment, a lot of people called him, which I know from experience that like I almost wanted to shut my phone off because it was like, I don't know how I'm going to text all these people back.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate it, but it's like there is a lot of people, and I feel like I owe it to all of them to get back to them because, thank you for reaching out. But like for him, like I'm sure that was such a small moment for what was next.
That's not true. I use your name every time I tell the story.
Oh, you do?
Alex, but I say your name every single time.
I was trying to give you an out.
So
I was saying that was such a small moment of your day.
No, that was a huge moment of my day because that's literally how I found out. So why would I take your name out of the story? That's just
maybe I just don't remember the name. Well, to be completely honest, I haven't read the article. I don't think ever. I think I proofread it before I publish it. I'll go back. I'll fact check it because I think I would have put the name in there because that was before I knew you, Bryce.
Oh, so if you didn't know me, then you probably wouldn't have put the name in there.
It was before I knew. I didn't even know. I think I would have put it in there because I would have remembered that it was someone else that got drafted. I would have remembered that. So
we're going to have to go back and look at that.
I think I honestly still have the recording from the interview, Vinny. I think I still do.
Oh. So I never want to hear that recording because I remember that interview that you and I did together, and I was walking around like a madman around my apartment complex, and I was out of breath. So I never want to hear that.
I could picture that too.
So yeah, but anyways, back to Bryce. So you are an athlete, like I was talking about. What do you think is the most important thing you learned from football and basketball that you can now bring to the baseball level? Because, you don't need to be as big of an athlete in baseball as you do in those other two sports. So like, what can you bring to the table from those two sports to what you do for your living now?
Well, I honestly have always tried to consider myself as my teammates' biggest fan. So like, I love when my teammates are successful. Other catchers make a great block. Like we were joking because one of my teammates from the Dominican Republic had a dream that I killed him. And so I walk into the locker room and everyone's speaking Spanish to me because they all think I'm a killer. So I'm like, okay, well, this is great. And then I told them, I said, I had to get a translator. And I said, who is the only person that yells, "Hey, great block. I see you working," things like that when they're blocking a pitch, even in warm-ups. Mm-hmm. And he was like, you. And so like, I think that is the most important thing that I have brought, especially to Instructs, is the energy and support for my teammates.
Do you think that's the most important part of a teammate, like that you think of is bringing the energy to the field every day?
Well, as an athlete, you want to be noticed. Like you want people to notice the work that you are doing. Sure, everyone, I work by myself, I do work when no one's watching, blah, 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 but everyone enjoys when people see the work that you do. So when I see a teammate blocking a ball, when it doesn't matter in warm-ups, the 6 pitches before the game even starts, I'm going to let him know that I see him. Because when I do it and they notice me and say something, that feels great. It's a great feeling that, man, like he's excited for me. And so I try to bring that to all of my teammates all the time.
So you brought up my draft story. What's yours?
I was playing 2K. I was playing 2K with all of my friends. We were in the park playing 3v3. Corey King and Drake Riggs were playing with me. And all of a sudden, Corey behind me was like, "Oh, man, you just got drafted." And I didn't believe him at first. And I was like, he's like, "Go look for yourself." So I looked at it and I was like.
A part of this story is that you had been watching and then you had turned it off, right?
Correct. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I was watching it and I was, so I think round 30 started and I stopped watching it and I was like, I'm over this. I'm not getting drafted.
To expand on that a bit more, the draft never goes how you expect it to go. Unless you're a guy that goes in the top few picks or you're the, solidified number 1 pick, nobody knows. And it's all about where, it's all about fit and everything. Most draft stories are weird because they mostly involve you going way later, not necessarily way later, but later than you thought you were going to. It's a wild thing, but once you're, that's your crack in the door, and it's how can you open that door and get in the room, and you've done that. But I don't want to talk about you, so you keep going where you were. I just want to, anybody listening.
That's great because I mean I didn't have an agent at the time, so Coach Finwood was my only source of knowledge. And so it was rumored that.
Did you not just want to get an agent?
I just didn't feel like I needed one because I knew I was going to go so late and sign for the minimum. So it really wasn't going to matter, in my opinion.
Right.
And, I talked to Vinny and Kyle Battle and, my dad, and they all just also didn't think I needed one. So that's kind of where I went with that. But, I was told anywhere from, round 10 to the last round. So I had to watch from round 10 to the last round in case, I snuck in there somehow. Someone says no, and they're like, well, this guy will for sure go, so we'll toss him in there. But, yeah, round 30 hits, and I shut it off because I was like, I'm coming to print T-shirts. I'm not getting drafted. And all of a sudden, it was my ex-girlfriend behind me that told me. She was sitting in my bed, and she was like, "Oh my God, you just got drafted." And I was like, "What?" So she showed me, pause the game. It's an online game, so we lost because people are scoring on us. And then all of a sudden my phone started blowing up and, everyone saying congratulations. And too, because like your phone goes crazy.
Well, one of the coolest things is, and I heard you guys touch on it a little bit, is it's really cool the amount of people that reach out.
Unreal.
And it was, for me, I think that was the best moment, is realizing how many people in that moment were celebrating me, essentially. And it's a small moment of time, but it just really made me appreciate all the relationships that I had built throughout my life to that point. And I kind of think about that moment and remember that every time I'm building a new relationship, is like, you want those people in your corner that are willing to take us, that amount of time just to send you a text and say, "Hey man, congrats." Right. It's like, that's what it's all about to me. That's why I'm doing this podcast and I don't want people to take that the wrong way and be like, "Oh, you just want people to celebrate your success." No, that's not what I want. What I want is to build like a web of people in my life that I can have relationships with. And like, it wasn't cool. Well, it was like, the fact that they were texting me about something that was awesome in my life wasn't what mattered. It was the fact that they felt comfortable with me enough to reach out to me to, just say congrats or whatever. And I'm sure it was the same with you, because that's what it's all about. Because there's no point in talking to everybody in the world unless you can celebrate each other and, be there for each other.
Right. I think the coolest text that I think I got was from a girl that I went to high school with, who I had talked to her maybe once.
Mm-hmm.
It was like we were completely into two just separate worlds as far as like I was athletic, she was theater. Like I never did any of that. She never did any of this. And I had like one or two conversations with her, and she messaged me on Facebook. It was like, congratulations. And like, that was probably the coolest text that I got, in my opinion. It's just people that you don't know that care, care. That's
super cool. The reason we are in the entertainment field, I know it's a sport, but it's an entertainment thing, is to, it's mostly for kids, right? To see that hard work pays off and do that. And, you do it for your hometown because that's where you grew up. That's who made you. Like the people that you don't have really any contact with anymore from high school or from middle school because you've moved into different phases of your life. Like that's who you do for, is the people you grew up with, because out of the amount of people that were on your middle school travel team, there might be one playing professional baseball, and then there might be two doctors or, a brain surgeon or something. And like, you can all come back and celebrate each other's, success. And that's where we're in a field that there's more eyes on, but it's all about doing what you want to do and being able to celebrate people for achieving their dreams, essentially.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
And I can kind of relate to it with what I do because there's not that many broadcasters. I mean, there's no broadcasters from my high school, and it is sort of a different thing. And, when I got, hired with the Burlington Royals, that was pretty cool. And, just getting that opportunity, but it also shows that, wow, I do live a public life. People know what your job is. I mean, how many people know what the job is of that girl that you went to high school with? Probably you don't know unless you looked at her Facebook page.
And they know what you get paid.
Yeah, they know what you get paid. They know how you perform at your job. Like, that's public knowledge. Like, you can look, you can see, like, is he successful at what he does or is he not?
And you got people tweeting about how bad you are at your job sometimes.
Yeah. Is it a challenge for you? Maybe not yet. Maybe that's a challenge you haven't really faced too much of yet, or maybe never will. When you realize just how much of your life you do live in the public eye.
Well, honestly, I've always felt like that ever since I was little because of who my father was in this area. Like a very, very successful businessman and basketball coach. I had to do everything the right way. Otherwise, it was going to get out. I never went to a party in high school. I lied. I went to one. It was after we won a state championship. That was the only party I ever went to in football. And never drank alcohol, never smoked, never did any of that because I knew that it was going to get out there and it was going to be spread. I just knew that. And so that really prepared me for this, to be in this business. And if I ever tweeted anything that was like suspect or suspicious, my dad would try to fight me anyways before it even got out there, force me to delete it. So yeah, it's pretty easy doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of our interviews, we do a segment where we each ask 5 questions and we go alternating order. So it'll go Alex, then me, then Alex, then me. And you feel free to answer these questions as quick or as slow as possible. So Alex, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
All right. So the first one for you, Bryce, what is your biggest pet peeve?
When people don't say thank you after holding the door for them. I know you're not supposed to do things of kindness, expecting a thank you in return. But for some reason, when I hold the door open for somebody and they walk right through and just look at me, that's my biggest pet peeve, for sure.
Do you like drinking out of plastic cups or glass cups better?
Plastic cups. I feel like glass cups are just too thick. Unless you got a really thin glass cup.
Don't worry about my cups.
I like the thin plastic cups. I think they're just easier to drink out of.
Interesting.
All right, that's interesting.
What a question. That's awesome.
Alex, you like that? That's becoming our most opinionated question we've had so far.
How can that question? I'm just confused. I'm confused.
Because it is the most unexpected thing of my day today.
Mm-hmm.
The most unexpected thing of my day.
That's what I do here. I bring the unexpected.
I love that. I love that for you.
All right. Another fast five for me would be favorite TV show that everyone hates that you love.
That everyone hates that I love? Oh my gosh. I don't think I watch
or
any
maybe TV or movie. Like, is there a movie that everyone hates that you love?
I mean, what a terrible question. What a terrible question.
Vinny, can you think of any?
Because now, first of all, you have to think of stuff that people don't like. And, like, I don't know. My favorite show is The Office. But on Twitter, I
was going to say.
So, do people not like it? If I were to poll 100 people, how many people would like it or not? I don't have that answer. So, Alex, why don't you come up with a better question that our guests can actually answer?
Oh, Alex.
You know what? We're skipping that. Alex, that counted as your second question. We're just going to give a no answer because we're not going to put our guests like that.
I appreciate it.
If you could hit with anybody in the world, dead or alive, who would it be with?
Barry Bonds. Best hitter ever.
Question number 3. I'll try to make this one better.
Just try to make it answerable. That's all I ask.
Are you a coffee drinker or not? And if you are a coffee drinker, how do you like your coffee?
Honestly, I am a very big coffee drinker. I drink coffee every day. But I'm not one of the guys that does the same thing every day. I might go to Starbucks. I might get an iced coffee with white mocha. I might go to Tim Hortons, the best coffee shop in the world, and get a extra large hot coffee with 4 sugar, 2 cream. Or I might get a extra large hot coffee with 3 cream, 3 sugar, or 2 cream, 2 sugar. Differs every day.
I'm going out on a ledge here to say that's really weird. I don't think that would be an unpopular opinion to what you just said, but that's I don't want to judge people based off of their taste buds, but like that's weird. You know what?
Yeah, I mean I would agree because I'm sure you do your coffee every single day the same way.
The same way every day, 2 cups, same mug.
Yeah, but like do you ever go to Starbucks or no?
Yes, and I get the same exact thing there every time.
What do you get?
I get a venti hot white chocolate mocha with non-fat milk and no whipped cream.
Wow, so you put white mocha in your coffee at home?
No, at home I do sweet cream.
I thought you said you get the same exact thing.
Well, that's a tough thing to answer because they don't have. I don't think they have Starbucks cream at the grocery.
Right. I mean, if I'm making coffee at home, then I just make a nice Dunkin' Donuts K-cup and a Keurig, and then
I use the Food Lion morning blend.
Yeah, see, so everyone's coffee is kind of different in a way.
No, but like it's not. And we'll just move on to the next question.
That makes sense, though. That makes sense.
Did I redeem myself with that question, Bryce?
You're on the right track.
So you're one of the few people and the only person that I know that has a PlayStation 5. What's your honest review of it?
The first 2 days, super exciting. You know, everything's brand new. Home screen's brand new. Controller fits nicely in your hand. Day 3 and on, much less exciting. Really? Feels like, same old thing. But the first 2 days are just riveting. Interesting. Because for Christmas, for me, Ryan Harris, who, listeners, that's my girlfriend. So next time I say Ryan Harris, I'm not going to mention that she's my girlfriend. Well, it's like an MLA format paper. You say it full first time. You don't have to do it again. So for Christmas, she was going to that's way too much money to be spending on me. She was going to give me a PlayStation 5. Can't find it anywhere. So I have a standing agreement with her of a certain amount of money she's willing to spend on a PlayStation 5. So if I ever find it, I'm good to go. But that's disappointing to know that after day 3,
it loses its
charm. It definitely loses its charm. It's super big. Like, it's as big as my monitor, so it's just massive. But I did hear that if a significant other buys a PS5 for the male significant other, a ring is soon to be coming after.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, if any ring companies have any deals they want to give me on nice rings, I'm not saying just hit me up if you're a ring company, and we can have that conversation.
I like that.
Is this question 4?
This is question 4, Alex. Alex, we learned, is not a math guy. He doesn't know how to number his questions. So, yes, Alex, this is question number 4.
All right, question number 4. If you were to start a podcast, who would you want to be your co-host with?
And this can be anybody in the world.
Anybody in the world?
Yep.
Kevin Hart.
Interesting. That's a good answer. I like that.
All right. Well, let me throw another twist in there since Vinny, I guess, is taking my question and adding his own twist to it. I'll add another twist to my original question. You can start a podcast with anyone in your phone contacts. Who are you choosing and why?
I would choose Nico Horner, who is the starting second baseman for the Chicago Cubs right now. I only have his phone number because we played in the same fantasy football league. And he played me on the day he hit his first home run at home. And everyone was congratulating him. And I was like, oh, Nico's in here. I didn't realize that was that Nico. And I played him in fantasy that day, and he was just like, I'm just happy my fantasy team is doing well. And he's just a funny guy. I choose him because I think the stories that he could tell would be awesome. Being in a big league clubhouse, knowing all these guys. And the reach that we would have would be endless. That's why.
Well, I probably didn't say you, Vinny.
I'm already on a podcast. So
yeah, I can't choose someone who's already on a podcast.
Yeah, Alex. Why don't
you guess the rules?
Alex, why don't you think about question number 5? All right, Bryce. Question number 4 for me. What colored bat do you use?
I just black.
Well, now that we know that you're not all about consistency,
I'm not.
You probably change it all the time.
Yep.
Tell me.
Black is always in my bat. I will say that. I just dabbled into the wine barrel and wine handle, which is red. Yep. So it's either, black barrel tan handle, black barrel wine handle, black barrel, and
or do you dabbling?
Dabbling. I'm using a little bit of Great Lakes Bat Company, a little bit of Birdman. Yep. I think that's about it right now. Just those 2.
Good.
Yeah, Great Lakes are some good people.
Yeah.
But their bats are not certified for the MLB.
All right, this is an interesting one. I like this one. I stole this one from the internet.
You had to look up. You had to look up your question.
Can't even come up with his own questions.
Dang, that's disappointing, Alex.
So, question number 5. I like this one. If Vinny and I were to get a warrant to search your car, what would be the strangest thing in your car right now?
Strangest? I don't know. I think there's still a bite of a croissant in the wrapper that's up in the door. I think that's about the weirdest thing you'd find in there. I don't put too much in the car, so.
Okay.
Average question.
We'll move on.
Average question.
What position in baseball is the most important / the best?
Okay, like when you say best, what do you mean by best?
The best.
Well, I think the most important position is probably the pitcher because you have the ball 100% of the time.
That's just the wrong answer. The correct answer, first base.
That's just not.
The correct answer is first base. No guest has gotten that right yet.
But the best position, center field. Because you just get to run everywhere. You're like a wide receiver. You're like a wide receiver, and let's just say your name's Henry Ruggs.
That was just uncalled for. We don't need to bring up the Jets' struggles in these podcasts. This is about you, not about the
Bear. Bear.
Bear the dog has made another appearance on the pod. He is behind me. He's looking out the window.
That's a good boy.
But anyways, Alex, how about you wrap us up here, and Bryce can get going back to the shop and make some more T-shirts.
Well, Bryce, again, as Vinny always likes to forget, as Vinny would say, blow yourself up.
Blow yourself up, Bryce. Tell all of our followers where they can follow you, why they should follow you, and what you bring to the table, because that is the most important piece. Build your own personal brand right now. Give us your elevator pitch. Go.
You can follow me on Twitter at B_Windy20. Great handle. You can follow me on Instagram at Bryce Windham 1. Follow me. I put out great content. You know, I retweet a lot of funny stuff. There's nothing that I would not retweet that's not funny, and that's a Bryce Windham guarantee. Instagram, I have a lot of aesthetic pictures, as people would say. I don't know. I think my pictures look pretty good. You know, they're well proportioned throughout my page. So I think aesthetically, follow me on Instagram.
How much thought do you put into pictures you post on Instagram?
A good amount of thought, probably. Usually I'm torn between pictures. So it's mostly choosing which picture. And then caption, you know, I just send it to my girlfriend and I'll say, hey, help me with the caption, and we'll figure it out together.
Makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Bryce, thank you so much for coming on. We hope you had a good time your second time on the podcast. We hope we made you feel comfortable, and you know, maybe we'll have you on a third time here in 2021 at some point. Maybe you'll be in a city where you're playing baseball, and we can get some good info on you then. But until then, Bryce, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, fellas, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
What a show with Bryce Windham. Vinny, what are your overall thoughts and impressions of you on the other side of this, interviewing a former teammate and one of your good friends?
Well, I mean, he's one of my best friends, so it's weird interviewing one of your, closest friends, because I know just about everything out about him. So, trying to ask him stuff is interesting because I already know the answer. So I'm just asking questions that I know the answers to, which really means I know if he's lying, which he did not do during this interview. So Bryce is a truth teller through this interview, and that's very exciting for him, very exciting for us, and very exciting for our listeners. So it was a good interview. I'm happy we brought him on for a second time. I hope he enjoyed himself. It seemed like he did. Our most viral quote of our young show happened during this interview with him, with you asking such a terrible question and him responding the way and me responding accordingly. So, that's exciting that we were able to, use that clip a little bit, and I'm just pumped that we were able to get that out there.
And let the record show that you took to the Twitterverse and put your poll out there, and just let the record show I don't think it was that bad of a question, because 54% of the people out there said it was a good question.
Yeah, which is fair. I know how many Twitter accounts you run, though, so I think it's a little bit biased because I think a little under 100 people voted, and you run about 40 different Twitter accounts, so there's some votes right there. But yeah, I take that loss on the chin. We'll step it up. I'll get better next time. That's about it. But I mean, for as close of a poll as that was, it was definitely not a good question. I guess it wasn't a terrible question either. It was just a middle of the road question, and that's just where we're going to have to leave it.
Just like all of yours. But I think just overall, it was a lot of fun to talk to Bryce.
Yeah, I would agree. And an update on my picks from earlier today.
Yes.
I went 6-4. It was a big day so far. We've still got the Steelers game tonight and the Browns game tomorrow night. So worst I can do is even. And also I just accidentally left out 2 games somehow. And I would have won both of them. I had the Bears and I had the Chiefs. So I could have been 8-4, but I'm not going to complain about it. That's my own fault for leaving them out. But, I'm excited to be able to leave this week not under 500. We can be 500 at minimum. With the Steelers win tonight, we finish over 500 for the week. So I'm just pumped for that.
Well, great job, Vinny. Great job. You just showed that, and you proved to some people that the Arizona 49ers are a legit team.
I didn't know. I just didn't really know people didn't know that they were playing in Arizona. I thought that was a pretty known thing. So, we're getting Twitter replies asking if I just said Arizona 49ers, and I get you telling me that you don't know that they're playing in Arizona too. So people think I'm being stupid on the show, when really I actually have my facts.
I knew that. I was just kidding. I knew that.
I don't believe you one bit. Do not believe you one bit. But, it's exciting to know what I'm talking about when I say Arizona 49ers. So, that was big for me. And, again, I'm just excited that we could bring Bryce to everybody. We've got another good show tomorrow. We bring Jack Curry onto a whole new ball game. Yes, broadcaster, pregame, postgame. The guy does it all. He's an author, New York Times bestseller, which I wanted to joke with him, but I never – the joke is that just if you write a book, you're on the New York Times bestseller. Because I feel like every single book I've ever seen in my life is a New York Times bestseller. I don't know the requirements for that. Do you?
I don't know, but I think you have to sell a certain amount.
Well, that's the question. And so New York Times is the publication. Does that just mean you sell a certain amount and you're automatically a bestseller? Or do you have to sell more than the last person on the list? I don't. I don't. I'd like to hear more about that, And next time with Jack, when we bring him on again, I'll ask him. I'll be more comfortable with him next time. So,
yeah. No, I think he's very open about his success writing books. And like what he said in the interview, don't want to spoil anything, but when you put Derek Jeter on the front of the cover and you put David Cohn on the front of the cover and it's written by Jack Curry, it's bound to sell a lot of copies.
Yeah. And I would just like to say to anybody out there getting mad at my bestseller, the New York Times bestseller comment, I was just kidding. Clearly, you have to write a good novel and to sell a lot of them to be on there. It was just a joke. So don't take it too seriously. But yeah, so we've got Jack Curry tomorrow, and we're really excited to bring him to everybody.
Absolutely. But without further ado, be sure to follow us all on social media at the Pasquantino on Twitter and myself at Alex Fuse. And
all right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.